All right, let's call this city council meeting for Tuesday, January 17th to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Taking a roll call, all council members are present except for our open seat. And do we have any public comment? And moving on from public comment, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda, or did you have yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have a discussion item to add. This will be business item K4, discussion to add additional cow meetings in a month. Thank you.
Motion to approve with the addition.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from man, what am I doing tonight? I have a motion from Councilman Merrill, it's always been you too, and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Let's see. Do I have a motion to approve the city council minutes from January 9th, 2023?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Announcements. We have the Park Recreation and Culture Board meeting Tuesday, January 24th, 2023 at 6 p.m. We have the City Council meeting Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. And we have the Economic Development Authority meeting Tuesday, February 7th at 2023, immediately following the City Council meeting.
Mayor, I'd like to also add that we also have the city goal setting workshop, which will be on Tuesday, January 31st at 5:30 p.m.
Any council committee reports? All right. And we don't have any public hearings at all, so. Moving on to business item K1, amending the city zoning code ordinance 445, section 13, article 4 to allow pole-type construction within the R1A zoning district.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. A public hearing was called and presented at the December 20th Planning Commission meeting, and this was to allow pole structure buildings within the R1A residential rural zoning district. The recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve this. Staff is also recommending approval.
So was this with particular requirements?
This is just allowing the actual structure of having it not be stick-built, but it could be pole. Everything for impervious is all set into place the same. Those could be revised given for future discussions that we have on that.
Okay, is there any reason why this is only in the rural district? Is it because it's more intrusive for the pole-type buildings, or what's the reasoning for that?
That's what was requested.
Okay.
Isn't that the old golf course?
It does include the horse building, but that is a separate, the horse building, I forget what it's called.
Stables.
The stable, sorry, is a separate kind of structure. But yes, we did hear it from actually multiple residents who live in the R1A district. So that is where it came from. It's currently in our zoning ordinance to have structures match the likeness of in the exterior building materials of our of the primary structure, and so.
But it was also based on acreage size.
Yes, and
was it
so
not?
it's just in the R1A district, which is most of those lots are around 5 acres from our understanding. So.
Make a motion to approve.
For this district here, I know there was similar size requirements or maximums that we have in the city. Is this included in our discussion that we're going to
Yes.
have later on? Okay.
Yes, yep, this is the R1A, which is one of the ones that Ryan had recommended was made larger.
Okay. I guess I mean, if there's no specific reason not to have a pole structure in all the districts, I guess I don't understand why this would only apply for this district and not all of them. Is that just because that's what was discussed, or?
Yep, that's what was discussed and requested, so if you guys would like to make changes to the other one, we can bring that forward to another planning commission meeting, but this is just for this district because that's what was posted.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to K2, resolution authorizing engineering services for the Third Avenue Utility Extension.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this item is the extension of the sewer and water from Eagle Street up Third Avenue to provide service to those 4 new industrial lots. It was kind of driven by that Mid-Continent site where they were making an agreement where they're going to cover the cost to get at least the sewer and water to them, and then the city would take the cost to oversize it to be able to provide service to the other 3 lots. So this is just to be able to take that through design and get the system up and running by the September 30th goal that was part of the agreement.
Mike, how was this budgeted for?
So this isn't explicitly a line item budget, but how this would work would be is that to the extent that we have costs outside of what Mid-Continent is covering, water, sewer would cover those costs to the extent that they have a new asset. And then those costs would be recouped upon the sale of those parcels. So those costs would be rolled in equally as those lots sell. Water, sewer would be reimbursed at that point.
Motion to approve.
Any other discussion at all? I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second by Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. And moving on to K3, resolution authorizing to enter into an agreement with BNSF for planking replacement.
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is the item we discussed at the December 20th Committee of the Whole, where BNSF has reached out to the city to request, I guess, cost sharing of replacing their planking on Main Street crossing and the Isani Parkway crossings. They basically offered a 50-50 cost split on replacing the planking themselves, and then the city would take the cost to repair their street and perform the traffic control as needed to stop traffic while the work's happening. We put together some cost estimates here on what the city costs would be. There is the opportunity to actually improve the sidewalk portion of the crossing on Main Street. It's currently kind of non-existent, really. It just kind of necks down to the bituminous and then turns back into sidewalk. So if we're in there, I'd recommend we take care of that while we're doing it. But at this point, also attached is the 2 resolutions that the BNSF have put together for each individual crossing that they would like to have signed and in place so that they can proceed with scheduling their crews this summer.
I don't believe the city residents should have to pay for the railroad's property.
We're basically allowed to drive across there, though.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, technically,
Literally let us drive across their tracks,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
you know?
So how much is it gonna cost the city?
225,000 roughly, I think it says.
the 2 estimates combined would be about the 180,000. These are both state aid routes, and as we kind of mentioned, we looked into it, and we would be able to use state aid funds to cover that cost. And Mike's, I guess, can answer to the idea of available funds, but looks like that can be drawn out of there.
Yeah, my math says we have money available for state aid, and if we don't, we do get a period of time after the completion of the project to request. So even if we had maxed out our forward advances with the state, once that money became available next year, then we would do it then, so.
So is that a grant or a loan? Would that be?
It's neither. The state simply allocates a certain amount of money for roads, and it's simply, there's a formula for the allocation, and it is simply ours. And there's no payback. It's just,
So it's like a grant in that sense?
yeah, I guess.
Like a running balance, sort of,
Yep.
over a certain period of time.
Yep, and it applies to all cities equally, right? Everybody's subject to the same.
You do
Same
have to meet certain
calculations.
guidelines to that
Yep.
state fund money, that's it.
Yep.
Just like if we do a street and we get state aid funds for it, the street has to be so wide and the side whatever, so there's stipulations, but, so I mean, potentially, what would it cost the city?
Well, it would technically basically all be state aid eligible, so the estimate of what the city cost would be the 180,000. It's just that you'd be able to use state aid funds to cover it.
So wouldn't it, so we'd be able to get probably 180,000 from the state for it?
Yeah,
But that's 180 less that we can get from the state for something else, so like that stoplight project or something like that. I mean, I guess, I don't know, is there no potential to fight it? I mean, why is it even here then if we have to pay it? As far as on the council agenda, if we can't not agree to their terms, then I guess I don't understand.
So yeah, at that December 20th meeting, the idea was, or I had at least discussed with the railroad when they contacted me to kind of say, well, you're not giving the city any time to budget for it, that type of thing. They did say that they were open to the idea of only doing one of the crossings this year if we wanted to have more opportunity to budget for the more expensive one and do the other one the following year. After a discussion, it was basically determined that the most cost-effective way to do it as one plan set combined was kind of the recommended way to move forward. But, there's the option to do both, the option to do one and then the other, or the option to say no. But if you say no, we don't know when they'll be willing to come back and fix some things. Main Street, I know, has had problems in the past with during parade routes and things that, if they're not addressed now, it could be a long time, or they could be crumbled away to nothing, and we're kind of at the whim of the railroad, because they kind of have the jurisdiction on there right away.
Mike, I don't remember the exact details, but I think the way that you had kind of planned out the state aid money being used and what we had available, it still worked out for us to have money for the stoplight available if that was a situation we wanted to pursue, right?
Yeah, we've got a number of projects in 2025, 26, 27, 28, maybe also 29. Then we've got a 6-7 year gap where we do two things. We get back out of all the advances, right? So that when we start up, get projects, large projects again in 2036, there'll be more of that state aid money available, but that also helps us to get some of that reserves together. So at the end of that stretch of 2025 through 2029, Fund 425 is probably only going to have a couple $100,000, which substantively is break even for that fund. And by the time we would get to 2020 or 2036, we would have built that back up to 3.5 million so that we can keep going with those projects. And at that point, then, yeah, we're going to have multi-million-dollar projects, and we're going to need those funding sources. But this can work. The bigger concern is that if we don't take advantage of a 50-50 split, they are under no obligation to do anything. Mm-hmm. And in my experience working with railroads, well,
They don't move
they're
very
challenging.
fast.
How about that?
They don't move very fast.
They're challenging, yes.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve it.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Collison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. And K4, I guess that was Luke, you wanted to kind of bring that up, but potentially having 2 committee of the whole meetings every month, or?
Yep, so I know committee of the whole used to be, I think it was 2 hours long once a month, correct?
That's correct.
And now it's been moved to 1 hour long once a month, but I would like to see it so that we have still the 2 hours total, because even tonight we ran short And I think that's probably just as important as council to have time to talk. So I think if we could do an hour before each city council meeting or something of that variety, so we get the total of 2 hours in a month. That was my idea on that. I mean,
I don't know about you, but 5 o'clock
Correct.
sucks for
Yep,
me.
yep.
There's,
Correct.
you've seen where I haven't even been able to make council meetings
Yep.
because I'm working.
I was, yep.
I think that most times reasonably talking about things, it shouldn't take that long to get through Cal. Cal is just bouncing ideas off, and a lot of times we can simply, a lot of it's research, where we would direct staff to research into it so we get a better answer. I mean, there's, sometimes we run into things. I personally, my time is too valuable to try to get here at 5 o'clock twice.
I was gonna suggest 6 maybe, if we could. I mean,
It's even then, 6 o'clock is tough.
okay. Well, I think it,
We have planning commission at 6 now, so.
And
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
just
think it-
too tough.
no, I
think
mean,
it's,
I mean 6 on the weeks where you don't have planning commission. Because planning commission is only once a month, so that's 5 o'clock, that was tonight, right? So 5 o'clock before planning commission as it's set and as you guys agreed upon. But then at the other meeting, there's nothing before, is there? There's nothing before
Currently
the other
there is
meeting.
not.
So it'd be 6 o'clock, COW, 7 o'clock council, and then after is the EDA meeting. So I mean, I know it's an extra hour out of your schedule, but I've been to COW meetings where they go over the 2 hours. Today, we went over the 1 hour time frame. I mean, we don't have enough time, and that's pretty important that we spend an hour, you know, once every 2 weeks to talk about what's upcoming as council members. I mean, I'm busy, we're all busy, but, I mean, it's our responsibility as leaders and as council members to be here and to be coming up with ideas.
You don't realize there never used to be really a cow, period.
That's fine.
There never
I think it's
used to be.
great. It works.
well, here's my take on it.
Individual committees before.
Right, yeah, before it was individual committees and you had 2-member committees. And I think a lot of the times what we discuss at COW really could be discussed at an actual council meeting at 7 o'clock, you know what I mean? There's things that I think that sometimes get missed by the public because we only talk about it in committee of the whole. And so, I mean, I think, you know, and we can always, you know, put the committee of the whole into recess too and come back to it after the council meeting that night on the 3rd Tuesday. Or, you know, we can add more discussion in the actual council meetings, which I think would actually be a
And
more of a
actually,
benefit,
cow,
I
we
think, too.
can't take any action
Right.
on anything in cow anyway.
Right.
It's more of a discussion, information, okay, we got this coming up. And as council members ourselves up here, then we need to be more mindful that we don't drag it any longer than it needs to be.
I don't know, I think it's good to talk about stuff because some people don't read all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I think us talking about stuff educates you more than what might be in the packet. And if you're too busy to read it, you miss it. You know, I think it's good to be prepared, but it's an hour before city council meeting.
I definitely agree with you on principle and stuff there. I just think we can have some of that more discussion in the actual council meetings or if we need more discussion on the committee of the whole, we can recess it until after the council meeting on that 3rd Tuesday. So you're still getting the time spent. It's just, I know that it's tough for Steve especially and tough for other people and, you know.
City staff,
What'd you say?
city staff.
Well, yeah, that
But they're
too.
already here anyways, because they
Yeah,
stay until the,
Typically, they'd be here till 4:30,
okay.
so today, it's not bad, they stay half hour, they got half hour before we start cow. So, it's a long day for them too. So, now if you add a 6 o'clock start, versus before, they probably would have a chance to go home and see their family before they come up for the 7 o'clock start of the meeting. Move that to 6, chance they might not. And that becomes another, you know, long
I guess,
day.
I don't like that it went from 2 hours to 1 personally, because it's not enough time, but that's my input.
I think you're right. I don't think an hour is enough time, but I
And
think.
that's the only practical
yeah, right.
solution, so.
Well, I think just moving more discussion time to the actual, like just today, I mean, this discussion sometimes would have happened in the committee of the whole, right?
Right.
But we moved it to council and we're talking about it right now. So, I mean, I think I like this. I like that we're doing actual brainstorming in front of the public, in front of the meeting, that they're actually here to watch us do it, you know what I mean? Whereas at committee of the whole, most of the people that are here now weren't here, you know, so sometimes I think that's valuable too, just to yeah, we can still have that discussion, but let's just move it to the times where people are really paying attention, you know, so. Any other discussion on that at all? How about any discussion on the consent agenda?
I have a couple of questions. So, on resolution L2, we budgeted for 115,000 and it appears the quote was only 45,000, so there's 70,000 in extra money there. Do you have any plans for that, Mike? I mean, we're saving $70,000, so what are you gonna do with that?
Well, first, for starters, I hope that it really only is 45,000.
Right.
But, yeah, my experience with wells is the first number you get isn't always the final number.
Okay,
So hopefully that sticks. And then after that, it simply stays in fund balance in the water fund, and you know, we'll actually be addressing that this year with rate studies. We'll do water and sewer this year. 2023 is the last year we have set rates, so we're looking at that. So basically, it just floats cash, and then that extra cash, you know, we'll make a decision within the rate study.
okay.
There'll be an opportunity to lower rates if that holds up, so.
Then I have another question about L5. So there's a quote here for IT services. I'm just curious, how much do we actually use that IT? I mean, I know obviously it's important, but would it be cheaper or more efficient to hire them when we need them versus keeping them on a retainer, basically? Or how does that work?
This does all the city IT support, whether it's something as simple as creating new emails to monitoring, fixing, replacing, troubleshooting with all of our server, all of our confidential data. It does everything, most everything over at PD as well as the liquor store. It's all of our facilities, and compared to the other costs, he was a third or if not a quarter
Okay.
less than everybody because we've had White Bear IT for so many years. But I think that if you were to just have someone to come be reactive to a problem, you're gonna have services down, where we would not be able to provide the services that we do for people, because we would then have to wait to get onto a schedule, come fix our server. Right now, we just let him in when he needs to. Sometimes we meet him on a weekend. Sometimes he can remote from home to do things, and I think there's a lot of value added to having him be proactive to keep everything running.
Or you pay,
And it's cheaper than having an IT on in-house, a
or you
full-time
pay
position.
emergency service calls
Right,
besides.
yep. Does he charge for service calls too, or is that just no matter what comes
This is
up?
He's in a flat rate. That's
Okay.
what he recommended, because then he can give us most proactive service, and continually monitor our stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second,
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All in favor, or all opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Anything else?
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Collison and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.